Today, in celebration of Black History Month, I like to learn about communities and how African Americans brought about a change and difference in communities. And so we're going to learn today about the Adams Heights District. Does anyone know where that is? Okay. It's in where? West LA. Okay. And they had another name for it. It was called Sugar Hill. Okay. Has anyone ever heard that name in reference to another community in another state? Yes. Raise your hand. I can't see you. Yes. Where? New York. In New York. And what particular city in New York? Harlem. So when I was doing my research about this, I realized that there's 6 degrees of separation. So Sugar Hill East and Sugar Hill West. And I'm also bi-coastal. I was born here, but I lived in Maryland. So I can really relate to this story, okay? All right, so we're going to discuss the historical significance of the West Adams area in Los Angeles, also known as Sugar Hill. Black entertainers, businessmen, and women not only revived West Adams, they challenged racist covenants and laid the groundwork for the Fair Housing Act. We're also going to be talking about Sugar Hill East in Harlem and some of the important individuals. And I gave you more detailed information on both sides on the sheet you have. So what I don't cover here, go home and read it. Okay. All right, so with the first slide, the West Adams area is located between Washington Boulevard, Western, Normandy, and the northern boundary is the 10 or the Santa Monica Freeway. West Adams is one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles, with most of its buildings erected between 1880 and 1925, including the William Andrews Clark Memorial Library. West Adams was developed by the railroad magnate Henry Huntington and the wealthy industrialist Hewlett Merritt of Pasadena. It was once the wealthiest districts in the city, with its Victorian mansions and sturdy craftsman bungalows, and a home for downtown business and professors from USC. It's really considered kind of like the summer home, like you have a beach home, or you have, this was so west of LA in the 1880s and 1890s, so this was like way out, okay? So a lot of the very fancy, wealthy people built their homes in this area. Victorian and craftsman style homes were some of the early styles of architecture found in West Adams. Later, other style mansions were built, such as Spanish revival homes. The William Andrews Clark Memorial Library, one of the 12 official libraries at the University of California, is one of the most comprehensive rare books and manuscript libraries in the United States. And it is open to the public, and you see the address. And this is between Arlington and Adams off 25th Street. I've never seen that building. Has anybody else seen that? Let's go. We can make that an on-the-move field trip. Okay. Yeah. When I was doing my little research, I said, oh, okay.
It's behind gates. I think it's grass area.
It sits way back apparently, but I know the next time I'm going over there, I'm going to check it out. So it could be a possible field trip, everybody. All right. There were a number of notable African Americans who lived in the West Adams district, such as architect Paul Williams, actress Butterfly McQueen, musicians the Mills Brothers, dancer Bilbo Django Robinson, actress Lena Horne, and Ethel Waters were only a few notables that moved into the area. Later on, Cortland Mitchell, the first African American to run for city council, Ray Charles, Earl Grant, Johnny Cochran, Marvin Gaye were only a few that lived in this prestige area. Now I have a question for you. Can anybody tell me who is this particular person?
Paul Williams.
Paul Williams. What unique historical landmark among many? Okay, the airport. All right, okay. And of course, another interesting fact about Paul Williams, course, many of his clients were white, and he built all his prestige stuff. So they didn't want to touch him. So what he would do his design, he would turn it backwards like this, so he wouldn't be touching them, so they could see it in front of them. And this is the way he was able to work with a number of them. I thought that was very interesting. They gave the area of West Adams the name Sugar Hill, which came from the section in Harlem, New York, that became famous during the Harlem Renaissance. You will see this whenever they're doing Harlem. You'll see it in movies, you'll see it on postcards. This is, I believe it's on Convent. It's actually the street that my youngest daughter lives on. And it goes up to Alexander Hamilton's house is in Harlem. In fact, they used to refer to it as the Heights, Harlem Heights. Hamilton Heights, excuse me, because he was one of the first people to build a house there. It was far away from New York City or from Manhattan. Same kind of 6 degrees of separation. And what I got to visit Hamilton's house, and he had a little black in him, right? His mother was a Maroon that was from one of the islands. So you can actually say that Alexander Hamilton was the first African American who moved to Harlem. Okay, sorry, take the pen here. All right. There's a map of Harlem, of the Sugar Hill area. That's, I believe it's the East River, and then Central Park are some of the natural boundary lines for Harlem. Harlem had been there since the Dutch arrived. It had always been there since the 1600s, but of course there was a change in the population. Later on, Jewish people were the population of, then later on, the Puerto Ricans. In fact, Spanish Harlem still exists today. So the area took a lot of change, but the prominent change was during the Harlem Renaissance. Got its name in the 1920s when the neighborhood became a popular place for wealthy African Americans to live during the Harlem Renaissance. Reflected of, I like this, the sweet life. So now you know where Sugar Hill comes. It's the sweet life. Okay. Sugar Hill featured row houses in which lived such prominent African Americans as Thurgood Marshall, the Afro-Cuban, Puerto Rican, Arturo Schomburg, Walter Francis White, W.E.B. Du Bois, Duke Ellington, Roy Wilkins, Cab Calloway, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., and Langston Hughes were only a few. Now I'm going to use my little clicker here. You guys are going to tell me the name of the people, okay? Are you ready? Right here. Ooh, all right, first one. What is he known for? Okay, for Supreme. I'm the only one that was black. Anyway, this one was new for, I know about this, but I didn't know the person that was connected to it. Schomburg, yes, and of course, what is named after him in New York? Anyone?
Library.
So there are a lot of people go there for research on African American history and other things too. Where's my? This one right here.
Walter White.
Walter White. Do you know anything about him? Yes, very good answer. You, okay, go on. All right, right here. All right, what is he known for? He was involved in the NAACP. Anything else? I always think about there was a big debate between him and who? Booker T. Washington. What was the debate about?
How to educate blacks.
Right. Booker T. Washington believed in you should be educated what?
Vocational.
Vocational. That was how the Tuskegee Institute was started. But W.E.B. Du Bois said, hey, sky's the limit. I went with him. Okay. All right. Next one. Duke Ellington. He was originally from Washington, D.C. And in fact, they even have a a school that is dedicated to music that's there now, high school after Ellington. All right, right here. Roy Wilkins. Anything about Roy Wilkins? Okay, we can say that about everybody else. I need a, you know what? I'm gonna let you cheat. You do have a cheat sheet.
Yeah. Urban League.
Urban League, thank you. Okay. Cab Calloway. Okay, anyone? What do you think? What was Cab Calloway? I didn't even put information for him. He was an entertainer. Sweet band, yeah, and you saw him in a lot of musicals, right? Yeah, I didn't put him in there because I kind of thought, I'm like, no, all right. Adam Clayton Powell, what do you know about, give me a fact about Adam Clayton Powell. Congressman, okay. And for the people from the jazz class, who was he married to?
Hazel Scott.
Hazel Scott, okay, good, yeah. One of his wives. I think she was the first wife, wasn't she? I believe she was the first wife. All right, and right here, Langston Hughes, all right. And what is he known for? Poetry. In fact, at that point, okay, yeah, they were putting Harlem down and all like that, and of course, he was a writer, and so he wrote in the New Republic. It was called Down Under in Harlem. If you are white and are reading this vignette, don't take it for granted that all Harlem is a slum. It isn't. There are big apartment houses up on the hill, Sugar Hill, and up by City College. Nice high rent houses with elevators and doormen where Canada Lee lives, and W.C. Handy and George S. Stewart and the Walter Whites, where colored families and their babies go to private kindergarten and their youngsters are in ethical culture school. Well, when I read that, I said, well, what was ethical culture school? It was a very high-rated school that started back in the 1850s, where you had to pay and you had to almost compete to get your children in that school. And so a lot of these families that lived in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance time period, they were able to get their children in that school. So he's telling them, we're not no slum. Get off of it. We're sweet. Okay, all right. The first to move in the Adams District was Norman Houston, founder of Golden State Mutual Insurance. The company would eventually become the largest black-owned insurance company and it started in 1925. The company, the first of its kind in the state, had been formed to provide black Californians who were often denied policies or charged outrageous premiums with quality life insurance. It would become the largest black insurance company in the American West. Now, the building over here stands, you know the Golden State is no longer. Yeah, but in this building, and I guess it would be called like the Art Deco style of building, but there was a lot of beautiful wood in there. Artwork that actually traced the history of African Americans in California. Luckily, CAAM got that, so nobody threw it out, okay? We got it. So, but it was, and if you guys go to CAAM, I'm a docent there. I love history. They don't love it like I do. And I need them to promote that they have a permanent exhibit showing black people in LA. And they could use just that exhibit from the Golden State Mutual and make a great permanent exhibit, But they believe in change. Change is good, but permanence has its place,
Just a comment.
Uh-huh.
Norman Houston's son, Ivan Houston,
spoke to us a few years ago at OLLI. He was the Black Buffalo Soldier. I don't know if you guys know.
Yeah.
But he's the son of Norman Houston. He's 94 years old. He's currently in the hospital, so keep him in your prayers.
Oh, yes.
He's been in the hospital probably for the last month or so. So keep him in prayer, and he's a very lucid, very informative person in his own right. Ivan Houston, who ran Golden State
After his father, yeah. Another interesting fact I found about, I think it's in your paper, I'm not sure. When he came out here, when he wanted to get into insurance, he was not come out here, he was from, it was San Jose, California, so he's a native Californian. But he split with Golden State Mutual, and he went, because he was just, someone who worked there, and he went to Liberty Savings, and this man's name was Blodgett, and this is the 6 degrees of separation. Blodgett came out here in the 20s, and he was a bricklayer, and folks out here didn't know how to lay bricks, that's from the South and the East and stuff. And he actually started a very prominent bricklaying business. He noticed that blacks didn't necessarily have jobs, so he actually had those who worked for them. And when they were, being able to purchase a home was difficult too, because you couldn't get a loan. So he started Liberty Savings, and where blacks could go and actually, take out an account to buy a home. My grandparents bought a house in what is called Blodgett Tract. Blodgett Tract is over off of Avalon, between Avalon and not all the way to Central. It was from 115, 116, 17, and 18. These were individually built homes. What happened? 6 degrees of separation again. A freeway. What's that freeway called? A 105. And old man, they referred to him as Old Man Blodgett. He lived over there for a little bit too. And he was the one-man architectural committee. And he would make sure, because the houses were on very deep lots, and they were not allowed to have chickens out front. Chickens had to be in the backyard. And you had to have manicured lawns and all of this. But I thought, again, how interesting that in some ways, Leon, I can't remember his first name, but Blodgett was kind of like a mentor to Houston. And so, and this is what we have to do as people. We have to network, we have to give back, we have to share. And here's an early example of that, 6 degrees of separation. Yeah.
Houston also was a supporter of education in Los Angeles. He used to give out most outstanding awards to various schools, students.
Scholarships.
Those schools, and I was one of the students.
And that's what we're seeing with some of the entertainers and stuff. After Kobe passed, we found out all that what he did in education. So, again, our history. In 1938, Houston bought a mansion at 2211 South Holbrook Boulevard. Afterwards, African Americans willing and able to pay, are you ready for this? $15,000. They began to move into the area. I tried to find what that would be equivalent to today. Probably, well, now those houses, I'm sure they're going for $1 million and stuff, but $15,000 back in 1938. And of course, that was on the edge of the Depression, but that was a lot of money. That was a lot of money. Okay. This is another interesting couple. This is, I don't have it there and I should have, this is Dr. John and Veda Summerville. And they were instrumental in building the Dunbar Hotel. Okay, a little background. They were both graduates of USC Dental School. John Summerville was the first African American to graduate from the USC Dental School in 1907. John's wife, who he met when she was an undergrad at USC, was the first African American woman to graduate from USC Dental School in 1918. And the little interesting thing about them was he set up the practice he was drafted into World War I. And that's how she decided, she was going to go back to dental school, because that was not her degree, because she wanted to save the practice while he was gone away to serve in the military. And all of this I found on USC's website, so you can Google and find anything. But another interesting fact, when he, and I'm going to read this, after a year and a half, Summerville had saved $250 and he enrolled at USC. On his first day at the university, students, however, had caused an uproar. Although the university had issued a declaration in 1885 that no student would be denied admission because of race, color, religion, or sex, Summerville's classmates did not welcome him. His classmates decided that they would threaten to resign en masse unless he was dismissed from the university. They presented their ultimatum to the dean, Garrett Newkirk called Summerville into the meeting, praised his credentials, and invited him to address his classmates. Undoubted, Summerville began, "I would hardly expect to encounter race prejudice and intolerance in an institution of higher learning," he said. "I'm here today for the same purpose that you are, to seek an education leading to a profession through which I can minister to human needs. You are conspiring to keep me from that goal for no other reason that the color of my face is different from yours. Many of you aspire to be leaders in your chosen line," he continued. "In later years, when you achieve your objective and become mature in thought, you may have reasons to be ashamed that during your college days, you placed a stumbling block in the pathway of one seeking the same opportunity." The Summervilles also purchased a home in the West Adams area. Dr. Summerville's first major business venture outside of his dental practice was the building up, and it was called the Summerville Hotel. Okay, located on Central Avenue in the heart of the Los Angeles African American community. When it was opened in 1928, it was one of the most upscale black hotels in the United States, and a number of African American celebrities were among its guests. Now, hotels were not integrated in LA. So you understand, because we have always heard the story about the Dunbar Hotel. So how did it become named the Dunbar Hotel? Well, apparently during the Depression, they lost the hotel. It was rebought and purchased, and it was sold and renamed the Dunbar Hotel after who? Lawrence Dunbar. Yeah, and I don't know if any of you have been there now. It is an apartment house, and they have a restaurant that's connected to it. It's called Delicious, and the food is delicious. A little advertisement, okay.
I was gonna say, also during the Jazz Festival in Central, they have tours throughout the Dunbar. It's beautifully redecorated, and I live in the senior building from Thomas Safran Association, did my building in Carson. He also did the Dunbar Hotel. So they have a gym there, the laundry room, and they have a beautiful garden. And it's beautifully decorated. They have some of the instruments for the musicians to turn into lampstands, and so they preserved a lot of the things. So you can go on tour in the Dunbar.
Okay, well that's good to know. I didn't know about that, because when we went to the restaurant, the hotel or the apartment building was closed off.
Just flashing back, that $15,000 in 1938 is $267,000 today.
How much?
Okay, what the equivalent? Wow.
Say the equivalent again. We didn't all hear it.
$15,000 in 1938 is $267,000 today.
You agree, Dr.
The property value.
Oh, well, yeah, see, they don't put the I didn't say it was, you would have to say what the house equivalent. Okay. Question.
Can you create a context for me in the sense of, this is an upscale black neighborhood. What does the rest of LA look like in terms of African Americans?
Well, they had regular homes. My grandparents were one of them. They lived in Logic Track. So those who were working, they worked. They had, and this is what they were saying. I didn't put everything that was in the article that I was using, but they said, this is like if you were going to go to Bel Air. Okay? So So everybody else, including white people and Latino and everybody else that lived in LA, they lived in regular homes, okay, regular, yeah.
Would you clarify for the people of the redlining, the areas
Oh, I was gonna do that, yeah.
that black people were only in small, very small communities, and only later on were they able to branch out?
Well, this was unique. This was unique. This is not the norm. Now you're gonna find that it was, well, don't jump ahead of my story, okay? Okay, yeah, and bringing that up, what Don just said, I did have a slide in here that talked about restricted covenants and how they were based, because just like when I just was talking about Blodgett, because of redlining, you couldn't go to the Bank of America or Security Pacific or any of those and apply for a loan, because they're gonna say, well, only black folks live in this area, and the property value is not gonna be that great, and we're not gonna be able to loan you a home. It would put us at a risk, okay? So a lot of things were used in order to keep blacks from moving into certain areas, even when there wasn't a restricted covenant. But because we're creative people, we'll start our own communities, okay? Now this was a situation of integration in many ways. Upscale, but like Blodgett Tract, he knew that his workers weren't able to buy homes. So he actually married Allensworth, Colonel Allen. He married her daughter, his daughter, excuse me. And so there was already money there. He had amassed a fortune from his bricklaying contracting business. So they were able to purchase that land that was off of Avalon, 116, 17, 18. And because when you think about it, okay, I don't know. Okay, the area was probably more like farmland and stuff, it's rural in that area. So here was where he created an area where blacks could build and make, nice homes, community. Another area, again, 6 degrees of separation, is where my parents bought, and that was Carver Manor. Carver Manor is off of El Segundo and Avalon. There are 3 streets. There's Stanford, McKinley, and Traub. The lady who bought the land over there, again, farmland, she was noticing that the black GIs were coming home and, again, not finding affordable homes. And she bought this tract of land. We never did find out how, the money behind it, but she bought this land. And she asked Paul Williams, would he design the homes? Now remember, he's doing upscale stuff. And he says, well, no, these are GIs are coming back. We want to have them to have nice homes that would not necessarily be like the little square box cookie, type house. So there were actually 3 different designs that Paul Williams designed these homes in Carver Manor. The elementary school I went to, Mark Twain, schools were integrated, not integrated. But anyway, they built the school, Mark Twain, for that community. So it became like 3 or 4 communities. There was Carver Manor, there were Happy Homes, and another area that was located right in that area, that place. Centennial, where's my partner over here, was built to keep us from going to Compton High School. Okay, so here you see a black community starting with black people, okay, because we were redlined or we were restricted from buying in certain areas. Okay. Anywhere on that? Okay. This was Hattie McDaniel's house. She purchased this white 2-story, 17-room house. That's a lot of cleaning. In 1942. Ooh, don't say that word. Okay. The property boasted endless porches, a beautiful large backyard, and a basement that McDaniels converted to an air raid shelter. Now, you remember this is World War II, so she had a shelter in her house. Miss McDaniels was criticized for playing stereotype roles of maids. She was quoted, "I'd rather play a maid than be one." So I got it, she didn't clean that 17 room.
Where was that?
Oh, the address? It's in West Adams. I'm sorry, I didn't get it. Oh, 2203 South Harbor. Harbor. McDaniel's eclectic passion and achievements were on full display. Her white grand piano, her collection of books on African American art and history. Miss McDaniel's home was known for its fabulous parties. The best of black show business performed within the walls of 2203 South Harbor. Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, Count Basie, all played there. Ethel Waters sang, and Butterfly McQueen did dramatic readings. On many evenings, McDaniel herself joined in. McDaniel had a yearly Hollywood party. Everyone knew that the king of Hollywood, Clark Gable, would be found at McDaniel's party. All right, quick question. You better all just yell it out. What is she known for? Okay, yeah, she played a maid, a mammy, and Gone with the Wind, but that's not what I'm looking for. Our first African American woman to win the Academy Award. That's what I was looking for. Well, it was Academy Award. There was none before. Oh, okay, all right, she says supporting actress, okay. Thank you.
You know, she wasn't accepted by the Academy, they had her sit in the back of the room.
Oh, I didn't know that. Go here.
No, just in terms of her positioning, as far as honoring her, you know, she won the award, they had her near the back of the room, they didn't have her.
Yeah, oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, we couldn't stay at a hotel, so now, you know. But you notice what they gave her an award for. What was Gone with the Wind? 39, yeah, yeah. And it looks like the Academy Awards is kind of doing that thing again, you know what I'm saying? Yep. And when you think about, we were talking about this at CAAM, when we were talking about her winning the award, that most of the winners outside of Sidney Poitier, I believe, because his was for Lily, so it wasn't necessarily a stereotype. Oh, okay. I was trying. I was trying to lift them up. I was lifting up the cabin. All right, I'll stop. Okay, black movie actors, actresses have made enough money to buy large homes, and some were enterprising who rented out rooms Harlem style. One of these enterprising lady landlords was Louise Beaver, who was known for her role as a movie maid. She was known for her role in the classic Imitation of Life. Beaver lived in a 3-story Craftsman on South Holbrook, which had once been the residence of a former Los Angeles mayor. Beaver rented out rooms to her fellow performers for extra income. She also hated to cook, leaving kitchen work to her husband, while she went to her beloved boxing matches and played poker upstairs late into the night. Guests were led upstairs to the 3rd floor where card tables were set up and where the refreshments were plentiful. Now I have up here at the top now this was in New York, this was common in New York to have rent parties. I just want you, I gotta set the picture for the next scene, okay? I think you guys know where I'm going. Now she's having these rent parties, people there all night. Now the other folks have been good, of course, you know, we had Clark Gable and Dean Crawford going to Hattie's house. Louise, we just got people, you know, and plus the fact she's renting out rooms. Think about it. You know where I'm going, don't you? So, next slide. Drum roll. You ready? Anybody know where I'm going? And this had been done at the very beginning. It was actually a handwritten document. There were 57 black families living in the area in 1945. Some of the white neighbors were fine with it. Others decide, I bet those are the ones that live next to Louise Beaver. I'm just saying, that's off the record. Others decided to dig out a handwritten document that stated that all owners had to build first-class residence of at least 2 stories costing no less than $2,000 and had to be built no less than 35 feet from the property's primary boundary and prohibited selling or leasing homes to non-Caucasians. All right, this is in 1945. The white plaintiffs insisted that the black West Adams residents were in violation of the law and they had to surrender. I just look at word. Surrender your home. I got a handwritten document here that says you weren't ever supposed to be in here. You gotta leave. Anybody gonna leave? No, I don't think so. Hattie McDaniel was one of the homeowners who decided to test the issue in court. She would hold meetings at her home and organize 30 black neighbors, including Beavers and Waters, to fight the case in court. Her case was heard in December 1945 by Judge Thurman Clark, and McDaniels was represented by the civil rights attorney Lauren Miller, who was also editor and publisher of the California Eagle. After hearing arguments, the judge adjourned court until the next day so he could visit the neighborhood under discussion. Now think about this. We're gonna put a trial on hold here. And there are some court cases that are done that they'll go to the scene or something like this, but this is back in 1945. Just put that picture in your mind. And here this judge is deciding, well, I'm gonna go see why you people want to make these other people surrender their homes. Okay. I think my daughter put my pictures out of order, I'm sorry. So when the judge went, the next morning, Judge Clark threw the case out of court. And what he says, it is time that members of the Negro race are accorded without reservations or evasions the full rights guaranteed under the 14th Amendment to the federal Constitution. Judges have been avoiding the real issue too long. All right, can you think of any other cases that we know that were actually the outcome was based on the 14th Amendment? Another very famous court case. 1954. And it was Brown versus the Board of Education. So you can see that the 14th Amendment, we better pray over the 14th Amendment now. I won't go any further. But you can see where this was used in the Constitution. Why the Constitution is a very important document too, for somebody who doesn't know it, learn it, or understood it, or understands it. And I'm not calling any names. Anyway, so there are other cases that were determined by the 14th Amendment too. So, you know, if you want to, like I said, Google it, you'd be surprised how many lawsuits, cases were based on and came from the 14th Amendment. Little additional information, people begin to still move in the area. How many of you have ever been to the Whiffendale House, Whiffendale Club House for a party? Do anyone know the background about the Whiffendale House?
I don't know the background, but my mother got married.
Okay, yeah, a lot of weddings and, yes, right. Okay,
I got married.
Did you really? Oh, okay. That was the one you got married to? The Whiffendale Club is at 3425 West. It's actually on Adams Boulevard. It is the oldest African-American women's club in Los Angeles. It was founded in 1945 by Della Williams, Fannie Williams, and Bessie Burke. Now, the reason why I have Bessie Burke's picture up there, because she's another Black History First. She was the first African-American teacher hired in LAUSD. And she also became the first African-American woman in 1918 to become a principal in LAUSD. So I had to point her out. And the next one is the Elegant Manor. I don't know what condition. Is it still kind of boarded up? Does anyone know?
There's one on the corner of
Yeah.
They are fixing that up today.
Oh, are they?
I passed it
Okay.
the other day and saw that there's.
They actually fix it up. Because when I was doing this was way before. I actually did this a year ago at CAAM, so information. So I'm sure there are some things that are different. Okay. But anyway, what I thought was that because it was abandoned, there was a woman who had been a sharecropper. Her name was Aurelian Moody. She purchased the house for like $70,000, which still was nothing, even in its condition, because of the lot, the land, and the size of the house. And she made it a community center. She used it for catering, weddings, and a halfway house. One of the most notable use of the manor was his catering service to the cast of Soul Train. So I thought that was interesting, yeah. During the 1950s, prominent black Angelenos started to venture into new neighborhoods. Some joined Paul Williams in Lafayette Square. Many others moved to Baldwin Hills as early as 1953. Rumors of a freeway being built through Sugar Hill was circulating. And in 1963, Sugar Hill was indeed bisected by the new Santa Monica Freeway, destroying dozens of mansions owned by African Americans in the process. By 1964, almost all the old families that called Sugar Hill home had moved away. Today, what is left of Sugar Hill is dominated by Paul Williams' design Fame, or First AME Church, Fame, or the First AME Church, a little black history fact, was started by what pioneer of downtown Los Angeles? Big Mason, right. Okay. The church actually moved there in 1968 on South Harvard. Overground mansions, and again, when I did this, it was before. I don't know what the area is like now, so, but they said, including McDaniels, the houses still stand in various states of repair. Although the traffic from the freeway is loud, if you try hard enough, you can maybe hear the ghost of water singing, accompanied by McDaniel on her gleaming grand piano. The next time you're driving down Adams Boulevard, headed towards Western, take a look around at Sugar Hill. African Americans and other diverse groups, it's a mixed area, enjoy success, life, and family in style, and still do. The West Adams area is a significant part of Los Angeles African American history and stands as an example of how far we've come and what people, and as a people, and what we have accomplished. So that's the end of that part of the presentation. Any questions or things? Because this is an interactive one. I know you, yeah, go ahead.
The Sugar Hill story is very, well, it parallels 20 other stories such as that. I saw a documentary at the Pan African Film Festival some years ago, and the bottom line is that prosperous black neighborhoods ended when the interstate took put a road right through it. And it kind of makes me think, look at McCurtain Park. You know, it's continuing. So there were 21 such neighborhoods that were thriving, predominantly black, and upscale. But they were cut down.
I mean, this is part of our history for a long time, because you think about, even in Harlem, back during just before the Civil War, there was a race riot thing in Harlem, because they didn't like the fact that they didn't feel that African Americans should have been serving, and they got mad and burned up part of Harlem. So this has been going on since time. We think about, was it Edensville, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay.
Violence. I was going to say, well, this one, the difference was that they didn't burn us down, they didn't use violence to get rid of it.
But there are various ways. Yeah, and they use eminent domain. It's interesting. Very interesting. I got a little game for you. You know me. I'm gonna let you cheat, maybe. Since we we were doing the parallel between the two areas, right? And I tried to draw the, what you call it, the 6 degrees of separation. And we've already brought up some more about how our history parallels in various places. But I have a little game for you. Yeah, you got to come up front. On behalf of the presentation of Sugar Hill, I have some sugar butter cookies for you. And they have enough to share. Oh, you want to know what the answers are? Oh, you do. Okay. Okay, the answers are going across. 2, going across, location in Los Angeles, West Adams. 4, going across, Center for Research in Black Culture in Harlem, Schaumburg.
What was that?
Center for Research in Black Culture in Harlem was in Schaumburg, you know, after the, one of the, sorry, guy's name. Yeah. 6, publisher of the California Eagle, Lauren Miller. What else do we know him for? Okay, and also, have you ever heard of the Kelly versus Shelley versus Kramer case? In fact, they actually made a movie about it. It was unrestricted covenant thing too. But anyway, he was the attorney in that one. But it's a very famous case. 7 across, founder of Golden State Mutual. All right. 8, maintain segregated neighborhoods. Restricted covenant. 9, going across, oldest African American women's club in LA, Withendale House. I know, you know what, I misspelled that on one of my papers because it's W-I-L. Instead, you know, you want to say W-I-F, but it's W-I-L-F-A-N-D-E-L. Our original founder of the Dunbar Hotel. Dunbar Hotel. Summerville. Women. 10, original founder, 10 across.
J.A. for his initials.
Oh, it was doctor. Okay, I can see where that might, yeah, I can see where that could throw you off. Yeah. Okay, give yourself credit if you did it though. Give yourself credit. I'll accept it, I'll give you a half a point. All right, 11. Served as NAACP Executive Director from 1964 to 1977. 12 across, worked with President Truman on desegregating the armed forces. Okay. Walter White. He was the one, remember in the poem, the little vignette that was written about Harlem, his name was mentioned, but he was very big in NAACP. I have a lot of the writing in the pamphlet I gave you, but what I thought was interesting, because he was a mixed race, he used that to his advantage. So when he would go down south to investigate like lynching cases and stuff, he got more information because they thought he was talking to a white man. So he used that to his advantage. Down, original Sugar Hill, Harlem. You missed that one?
It didn't have enough letters.
Harlem. It didn't have enough what? Okay, number 3 going down. First U.S. Supreme Court Justice, Marshall. I remember when he retired, he was a resident of Baltimore. I was still living in Maryland at the time. And the news reporters were, you know how they'll do, getting in your face and what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? He says, I'm gonna mind my business. I always remember that about him. Then the 5th one going down, first African American woman to win in the Academy Award. Okay. All right. I have another request from Nicole. She would like those of you, and I put some at the desk. These are a volunteer interest survey. I hope there's enough. If you didn't get one, let me know. Would you please take time to fill that out?
Just another bit of history with regard to this area. Many of you know that Marvin Gaye bought a home, and it was also in the same area, and that's actually part of the Black Los Angeles area.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, in February, if any of you are interested, I've gone twice. The first Saturday in February, the Black Realtor, they do a free tour of Black LA. They just had it last Saturday. I'm sorry, I'm just giving you. But they do it every year, and they go by the homes. They give you, in fact, we went into the Adams District and passed a lot of those homes. But it really gives you a lot of background on blacks in LA, and it's free. And I think they even have like a little continental breakfast and coffee, and then they have people that speak to you there, and then you get on the bus and you tour. Yeah. No, they're actually on the bus. Yeah. They're combined with them. Yeah, our Arthur Study Club is combined with them. Yeah. Okay, first.
Who does that?
Well, Chief said, and I know it's two groups.
I know it's our study club.
But it was, well, what I was told it was the Black Realtors, but there were a couple of organizations that were up there that were kind of leading it.
How do you get the group?
How do you what? You just show up. You know what?
I think you show up at the
Yeah, we didn't sign up or anything. My neighbor actually took me. You going up? Was it Stalker?
Don Felipe.
And it sits down.
Consolidated.
Yeah.
There. They leave from that location.
And I think it's like 8 o'clock in the morning.
That's every year.
Part of a group, or you just have to sign up in advance?
No, you just show up.
Black Business Dollars, they mentioned it. They meet every second Tuesday at the IHOP on Crenshaw. They brought it to my attention.
Oh, okay. That's good to
Usually you
know.
go to our Arthur Study Club's website and sign up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it.
Just let you know, our study club, every year, they have been going for many
Many
years. I've been a
years.
member since 1967, and they've been going ever since
Every
then.
year.
Yeah, whoever started it passed, but they continue.
They continue to do it, yeah. It's just that I wanted to go back. I did learn, because I did it when I first came home. That was really good for me, because I was gone from LA for 30 years. So to know the background and a little more history, I learned so much, and but every time they do it, it's the first Saturday and in February, and I know I do the Black College Expo. So for numerous years I've been doing that with the kids and not getting to go. But when you get a chance, please, everybody, it's really worth it. And they go into detail. Then you actually get to see. One of the places, another place we need to look into, Ray Charles. I went there, but I think they closed it. How many of you have gone to the Ray Charles music? It was his studio. Does anyone know if it's open now? Well, they closed it for a while. They were remodeling it, but that's, when did you go?
About a year.
About a year ago. Oh, okay, so they're just back open.
Yes.
But that's a great tour, but I don't think they take large groups, so you'd have to kind of split it up. I think, 40 might be the max. And what is great about it is you have a little area where they're telling you, they actually show parts of the movie, which I thought was great, because everybody was familiar with the Ray Charles movie with Jamie Foxx and how it played. And then you go to the studio and they have the
mics and everything, and you can get up there and sing, and you can put the headphones on.
Oh, we did the
It's very interactive. It's very nice.
Yeah, they got a stage, and we did the raylettes. And the year we went, it was a book club I was in, they actually gave us T-shirts.
Yes.
So we had T-shirts and a book, like a
T-shirt
journal type of thing. So it's really a good, another,
And it's free.
and it's free.
And where is it located? On Washington?
I'm Washington.
It's on the corner of Washington. Westmoreland, I'm not quite sure, but I know it's on Washington.
But it would be a great trip to take, especially with this group too. So, anybody got anything else as we're sharing?
Yes, the Athens area has a rich history.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure, does anybody know anything about the West Athens area?
Johnny Otis lived over there.
Between, it's
124th
Figueroa and, not Hoover, well, yeah, Vermont, Figueroa, Vermont, 120th and Nelson Gundam.
They had a lot of nice homes.
Johnny Otis was one that I remember.
Sports players and stuff that lived in.
Right.
Those were huge, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, and they still are. Another area down the street from my parents' house. But they didn't live up, but my first boyfriend did. Anyway. He wasn't famous, but this is good. Let's share any other places of interest or something that we could go to. Yeah.
Not something my coach as well. A few years ago, a friend of mine and I went to a tea at one of these houses.
On Adams?
Was it on Adams? I can't remember.
Yes.
I wonder if they're still doing that.
I don't know. Does anyone know? I had a party here. The tea house is Miss Effie's tea house. Yeah. Is it still open? Yeah. It's very neat. I actually met the lady who's the proprietor there, and she had a thing where she used USC students who were going into hotel management and stuff like that. They were like interns that worked in there, and it's all the decor is back in the 30s. The tables, dishes, tea, and they actually do high teas, and they have upstairs and downstairs. There's rooms that you could be in, and then they have a menu. You have to do this in advance. You have to do it in advance, but it's a very unique place to go back in the past, and you'll see hats and the old pictures and stuff. Miss Effie's Tea House, and it's on Adams. Okay, we're sharing, class.
I think it was about 2016. I didn't know that Icantina had a house in View Park.
Yeah.
And an investor, opened it up for the public to see before they tore it down and did something. Does anybody know that location?
Yes, it's been remodeled.
It was on Olympia Drive.
Yeah, it's on Olympia. It's been remodeled and they sold it. It's just a regular house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Ray Charles's house. Yeah, he was up there.
Isn't it the big basketball player? Will James,
Oh, his house was up there too? Nancy Wilson, yeah. So that was when they moved from West Adams, and then they moved to Baldwin Hills, yeah.
They also, because they weren't allowed to live in other areas of the city, they lived in a lot of the areas where people are living now. I mean, I know, in my area, Quincy Jones lived in one of the houses. Gibson lived in the house across the street. So, they lived in neighborhoods that,
Yeah, because they couldn't go anywhere else, yeah.
They weren't even allowed to live in like Westchester.
Right.
Tom Bradley, when he was trying to move to the Merck Park, he had to get a white guy.
I've heard that
They wouldn't
story.
sell it to him.
Yeah.
That's how he got into Merck Park.
Yeah. And then Nat King Cole's house was, what is that area?
It's
Hancock Park.
Hancock Park. Supposedly they burned a cross when they moved in, and of course Nat King Cole was probably one of the entertainers that was known because he had a TV show and this type of thing. But still, you know, they harassed him when he moved into that neighborhood.
Yeah, in the 60s, they had restricted covenants in terms of Carson, as far as the black people moving to Carson.
Carson?
Yeah. What happened, the fund had engineers moving people. The NAACP and a couple other groups, some things they moved to Carson in the 60s.
Wow. But now, didn't they build Del Amo in 1965 or 64? Now, what part of Carson are you talking about? Because I'm thinking that was newer. No, not the mall, the houses that are off of Wilmington, behind the park. 65, right. Because there were a lot of black. So when Carson had to, what part of Carson?
So it's like from the 91
I'm not surprised.
He was with us on a lot of that. He was
Yeah, well, that's why I said I'm taking a new look at how I'm looking at history through communities. How communities change. Now, right now, you know, in LA and a lot of places is gentrification. Watts, have you guys been to Watts lately? There is the beginning of gentrification there. Again, when you can't find, LA has the highest housing market there is. So you're going to go where you can find affordable housing, regardless of whatever the negative connotation was behind it, and then we'll build it up, yes.
I just want to add that it's Lady Effie's Tea Parlor.
Okay, Lady Effie's Tea Parlor, thank you. Yeah. Lady Effie's Tea Parlor,
Yes.
On Adams. Yeah, it's still open. Any other?
453 East Adams. So it's like between Avalon and San Pedro.
Where did you say it was?
453 East Adams, like between Avalon and San Pedro.
I didn't realize it was that far down. It was closer to Figueroa.
Okay, it was in San Pedro.
Really? I didn't realize it was that far down. Oh, she will have
By the 110 and the 10.
But that was
across from the Burger King.
Yeah, that's why I said Figueroa. Yeah, because you think of the Spanish.
That's over there. There's Broadway, there's Maple, San Diego.
Oh, that's what she said. I just realized it was that far down. If you get a chance, please sign up to volunteer. Nicole had wanted me to share these with you. This is our program, you know, and we have to work to keep our program going. So anything, she has a list of different things that you may have the skills in and whatever, please volunteer, okay? And is there any other questions or statements?
I just want to share. My mom, after my brother and I, we had grown up in she downsized. And she knew of a lady that lived on Adams, but on the south side. Mm-hmm. And when she moved out, my mom immediately moved in. Because my mom said when she was younger, that's where all of the blacks lived on Adams, and she wanted that feeling. Yeah. And when my mom had her massive stroke, I kept her at a convalescent hospital on Adams until her demise.
That's where she wanted to be.
When she would go on Adams, it would be like you just saw. Plus, we had the hills, you know. Right. You know, she would go fast, you know, woo! Yeah, they done smoothed it all out, it's like,
Yeah. See, that's what I said about the 6 degrees of separation. All of us, and I'm hoping that I ring some bells in everybody's memory of different things in your own lives, because we're living history right now. So what are those things in your growing up or your experience cross-section with some of the things that we learned today? So, and please share with the younger generation. I really would have loved to have had some of the students here too, you know, because we are the ones that can convey this to them, to know what it was like. You know. In fact, because some of the information, like I said, I wrote this like 2 years ago and did it at CAAM with docents. I added some things, but I am curious about some of the things that they said now about, have they, like Hattie McDaniel and Beaver's house. They showed that when I went on the Black Realtor tour, and the house was like kind of boarded up. But is it now? You know, that would be interesting to find out. So anyway, but like I said, the next time you're over in the area, because the easy way to go down there is my private highway, Van Ness to Arlington. It's Peggy's highway. Don't have to get on the freeway, avoid the traffic. Anything else to share?
No, I just enjoyed this class.
All right.